The Elephant in Our Room, Public Notice. August 27, 2020 by Anna von Reitz. This public notice is addressed to all readers, all agents, and all principals worldwide. It is a matter of urgent national and international concern. Following the unresolved mercenary conflict known deceptively as the American Civil War, Territorial United States Agents in the form of Union Army generals seized upon land and assets belonging to their employers, the American states and people, and placed these assets in various public trusts. These included the U.S. Trust, the United States Trust, the Public Charitable Trust, the Northern Trust, the Southern Trust, and so on, as well as individual state trusts all operated under similarly styled names, the New York State Land Trust, the Ohio State Land Trust, et alia. The false presumption involved was that the actual government had disappeared, together with all the people of the various several states. In fact, our erstwhile federal employees didn't bother to tell us what was going on, as they acted secretively, in our names, far outside any granted authority to do so. The actual federal constitutions require that any circumstance or matter that is not explicitly addressed by the constitutions remains an issue standing within the purview of the reserved powers of the states and people. See Amendment X of all three federal constitutions. The disposition of our assets remains with us, the American states and people, to this very day, and not with our hired help, and not in accord with their attempts to unlawfully convert our private and public holdings. There are now 50 state assemblies present, and this circumstance signals the collapse of all public trusts held in the names of our states, e.g., the New York State Land Trust and the Ohio State Trust, and all similar entities, as well as all the other national and regional trusts and international trusts that have been established in our names and the names of our states and our regions and our country. When what is true appears, what is false must pass away. When the actual states and people return and present themselves, as they have, all pretense that we are lost, or missing, or are otherwise incompetent to manage our affairs must cease. Our assets must be returned to us, free and clear of debt or encumbrance, together with all rents, fees, lease payments, profits from mortgages, and other forms of insurance and escrow payments owed to us, minus legitimate expenses related to our stipulated constitutional agreements. Furthermore, gradual usurpation by the Washington, D.C. municipal government authorized at Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, and evasion of the limitations imposed by all three federal constitutions in our purported absence, has led to the presence of no less than 185,000 municipalities and municipal government organization on our soil, where they have no right, reason, or cause to be. These municipal entities, owned by the Pope's municipal government as franchises, are now being bankrupted and no longer have the funding to pay their own police forces, so they are asking for UN corporation assistance in the form of UN peacekeepers. The plain fact is that neither these municipal government organizations nor any UN peacekeepers should be here on our land and soil. By operation of law, the unauthorized municipal corporations, including those that have acted as the governments of major cities, should simply be dissolved and their assets should be lawfully converted to the ownership of the actual state. It is unfortunate that these organizations ever saw fit to usurp against their employers, but having done so, they cannot complain against the long-published public law, including the federal constitutions, and cannot raise any objection based on their contract. So, in the interests of our public law and our public duty, we ask for the understanding and sympathy of all governments and all people everywhere. We were duped by our own employees, who, for the most part, were also duped and misdirected by foreign governments acting in gross breach of trust. The UN Corp., United Nations, Inc., and the United Nations Organization will all be held individually and severally 100% commercially and personally liable for any incursion upon our land and soil, will be charged for any death or destruction they cause at a rate of $1 trillion in gold per each American civilian killed or maimed, and the same for any and all U.S. citizens or citizens of the United States who were born on our shores and who cannot be proven to be federal employees or direct dependents thereof. These organizations and the principals responsible for the existence of these municipal corporations and governments existing on our land and soil in contravention of the plainly stated constitutional limitations cannot correct their errors or improve their financial situation by causing more destruction here. All the aforementioned organizations and guilty principles can do is cause more senseless destruction and harm to people to whom they have always owed good faith and service. In these and in their actions usurping against and deceiving and plundering their employers under color of law and force of false legal presumptions, these parties and principles have clearly acted as crime syndicates and have participated in organized constructive fraud for purposes of unjust enrichment and coercive power, in conspiracy against the federal constitutions, against the Geneva Conventions, and against the Hague Conventions, too. In all these respects, we are faced with a specter of knowing criminality on the part of respected Western governments that have been similarly commandeered by banking interests, and seduced into operating as incorporated commercial ventures. The end game, so far as we can perceive it, was to reduce all governments to the level of private commercial corporations, eventually leaving the Holy See as the only unincorporated government left in the world, whereupon the Holy See would invoke both its ownership interest in all the commercial corporations, and its standing as the only remaining unincorporated government, to impose a worldwide theocracy substituting national corporations for living monarchs in a system of corporate feudalism, which would seek to destroy the divine nature of mankind by genetic pollution, and excuse its hideous cruelty and criminality by further pretending that the victims weren't actually men and women, but GMO products subject to corporate ownership, and corporate disposal. These are offenses that go beyond any political dispute and which clearly enter the realm of moral insanity and criminality of a kind that must be opposed by all mentally and emotionally competent people on Earth. The offending corporations must be liquidated and their assets returned to the states and people to whom the assets actually belong. While this most venal plan has been discussed for years in some circles, by far the largest percentage of the population of this planet has been deliberately misled and left in the dark, as indeed have the many public employees who were expected to carry out the murderous instructions of the perpetrators, much as Nazi stormtroopers did, mindlessly informing upon and incarcerating and harming their countrymen in the name of an authority stolen from those same victims and operating in their names. We are not afraid of addressing the elephant in the room. Failure to admit to its existence and source has been the bane of many generations of people, and so we propose that the 7 billion of us each take a bite out of the elephant, until there is nothing left of it at all, but a sad reminder of the dishonesty and greed and cruelty and criminality that has ruled this world, in our names. Anna Maria Riesinger, Fiduciary, the United States of America.